Yeah, so basically it's just going to be
I mean, I've seen podcasts, but yeah, like...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, so... Because you listen to them.
Good point.
For episode 1 of the Tiqqle Talk podcast, we have on Tybur, Multi-Gladiator, awesome player playing at the 2600 level against people like Xaryu, Sea-Doo, Snutz. Watching him watch Tybur on his stream go against those people, and then watch those other streams and you'll see Tybur pop up. Phenomenal player. He has a YouTube, he has a Twitter, he has a Twitch. Check out those links in the description and in the video. He's also a huge part of the Tiqqle Party community. He's been helping out with everyone's questions and having to do with RBGs, having to do with arenas. He's been part of PvE and PvP events since the beginning. I can thank Thunderbud for bringing him in and introducing me to him. So Tybur, I really appreciate you being here, and we can kind of get into the first episode of Tiqqle Talk. So Tybur, my love, my Tyboo,
yes.
I did some research on you over the weekend. Instead of spending time with my loved ones, I did that. So I went through all your VODs and all your videos to just kind of like get a little bit of information on you. Try to understand who's the inner Tybur. So I noticed that you've been playing with different comps with a lot of different people this season, particularly this season, and they're all around 2.5 plus, which is you played Boomkin Arcane R Shaman, Boomkin DH R Shaman, Boomkin Rogue R Shaman, Boomkin Windwalker R Shaman, Boomkin LER Shaman, so a ton of stuff at like the 2.5 rating, which is pretty much the highest tier, going against some of the people that are at the highest end that people kind of recognize WoW PvP for, like the Snutz, the Smxn, the Xaryu, the Bahjeera. They're all in your clips, and you're all in their clips. So what makes you like playing with so many different people and in so many different comps? Because those are a long list of things to all play above 2.5.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually heard, Jamilius, so they say this one time about the exact same thing. He said there's a select people at the top of the ladder that can play with everybody is what he said. A lot of there's like one-time glad teams that push up and play like one comp and with the same guys the entire time, and they get their glad. You know what I mean? They had that one season, that one run, but the best players can play versatile, basically with everybody. They're versatile enough to play all the different comps and learn everything. And so like by being able to play with different people, not only do you learn different play styles, but you're broadening how well you can play like overall, and like you learn how different comps work when you match up against them, how different people play. And so by playing all the different comps, it just like betters you as a player really overall. And more comps is more fun too, right? Different comps are played differently, so you have to practice one way and practice another way. If you're just playing the same strategies, the same comp all the time, it's just kind of monotonous, right? That's why like people play so many alts and things now. But
right.
Jamila was the first one ever to say that and realize, like the top select people are able to play with a bunch of different people and a bunch of different comps because it's just a skill set almost. And so like, not to say that I'm up there where they are or anything of those rank 1 guys, but I think that's the best way to get there, right? Is to play as many things, as many comps as you can.
Well, and it's funny too, if you watch, like I watched a lot of the different comps and a lot of different people, because there are different people in the comps too. It doesn't ever feel like it's unnatural. It always seems like you're kind of like vibing with everybody in the group, or you know each other from a long time. Are most of the people that you're playing with from kind of like you've known for a while, or is it just kind of like the brotherhood at the top, being like 2.5, you played against each other, you know each other, and kind of coming together easily like that?
Yeah, it's actually kind of both. I never really thought about it, but I have a lot of people that I've played with for a long time, even like Thunderbud and stuff they become friends, you know what I mean? And you always play better when you play with friends, just like anything, Even you see people play like professional sports, that a lot of the guys that they play with then are like, they're kind of like a clique of friends. And so like the guys that I played with a long time, usually have better synergy and stuff with, but there are people that I'll meet that I've never played with. That's one of the cool parts of the game, right? I'll play with these top level players that I've played against but never got to know, and for some reason we get along like nothing, And that's actually happened recently to me, where like I got along with these guys and played top level with them. First time queuing, and it's like we've been playing with each other for a long time. The guy that I played against in the tournament, Abrua, he beat us in the final match, and I whispered and messaged him about it, and we talked about it, and then we started queuing all of a sudden. It's like we were friends, you know what I mean? We played against each other in a tournament, and he beat me, but it was like something cool when we started queuing high arenas, you know what I mean? Like, like I'd known him for a long time. So it's kind of both, you know. There's probably people that I prefer playing with that I've played with for a long time for synergy reasons and stuff, but I don't know, you just meet people.
I'm just envisioning a house party with like just all the arena, like the top arena players. And I feel like it would just be such a fun and awesome time for everybody there. And I'm sure that happens I actually don't know if it happens at BlizzCon. I know it does on the PvE side where the like Method will get a house or something and then they'll just all just be buds in person. So I'm sure it would happen on the PvP side too. But yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm a stream hop fiend. And it's actually one of my favorite things of after BlizzCon. Is because the games at the BlizzCon, they all meet each other and they all play with they play with a lot of people, but they play with a select few, like Sea Snutz, you know what I mean? They've always played together and like Vinruki. But then after BlizzCon, they all play with each other. If you ever pay attention, it's really funny. They start queuing with people that you've never seen them play with. Like that's even really the top level people that they may be friends, you know what I mean? But the after BlizzCon is always cool because they met each other.
Are you going to BlizzCon this year?
My plan is to go, yes.
Oh,
I'm not 100% sure yet.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and you have to get the tickets, which I hear are hard. I'm trying to do the same, so maybe you know we can be roomies. So the other thing I was going to bring up is, you know, kind of on the same line is you've been at like, you know, your queues are at 2,500 plus, which is pretty much the same ballpark that you have the Xaryus, the Snutz, the Smxn, all of these people that we're talking about. And you've clipped me, and I've seen you beat, you know, Snutz and team and Xaryu and team, and, you know, they'll beat you, you'll beat them, the back and forth. Who is the most, if you had to pick one, who is the most satisfying victory that you've had?
No, the most satisfying.
Against who? Who did you make you kind of like jump for joy or be like, oh, yes, crushed?
Get excited. It's kind of funny because it's probably not someone people would think of. And it was more because of what the game was than the player, because, you know, players play different comps and things. But one of my best wins probably was against people don't even think he's that great anymore, but it was against Born Good, the H Pally. He was playing with Sony D and Volkazor, I think it was, and they were playing Fire Mage Warrior H Pally, and it was for my first 2,700, and so it was like a more meaningful game to me. And it's actually a counter comp to us. So knowing those guys, and I hadn't really played against them much, and we won barely, honestly. It was a really close game, and that was my first 2-7, and that was probably one of the most hype games.
That's awesome.
But like as far as player wise, you always think of the top players. Like if I were to, like beating Sam or like Snutz, those guys are just legends. You know what I mean, in the game. So like they're just top ladder every season.
Right. And you know, with the ladder being like, you know, you being on the upper end of the ladder, do you? It's kind of a question I think a lot of people would be asked, you know, about the PvP scene and all the cups that are coming up and on every single weekend now, which is actually pretty encouraging and it's pretty awesome, even though the viewership is not quite as high as many of the other, you know, esports today. But, you know, where do you see the PvP scene going as we're kind of leaving Legion into a new X-Pack? And as, you know, it can be said that the people at the top of WoW Arena have been there for some time, and there are some old guard of the old names that have been around for a while. Do you see it, how do you see the top end of arenaing, you know, shifting now that the cups are more often and it seems to be out there a little bit more?
I mean, it's obviously good. I say this almost every expansion or every new season is there's just so much potential in this game. Really, there is. I mean, think of the past, it's had a good esports history, kind of. Viewership-wise, it's obviously a hard game to spectate, but this game has so much potential. I mean, there's no game like it that has an MMO and a PvP, you know what I mean, aspect like that where you can play arenas at the same time as being in an MMO. And, you know, no other game has that. It's an individual game, and it has a play style like none other. You know what I mean? How many other games have those many abilities as you have in this game? There's really, you know what I mean? There's nothing like it. And so it's always encouraging for me to see more tournaments coming out because it just brings a bigger name. The more tournaments, you know what I mean? The more people are going to be active to play in them. The more people we can get playing on the ladder, you know what I mean? So then just like encourage people to watch and to play. And I honestly think BFA has just like what Legion had. It just has potential. You know, it just depends what they do with it and how people see it and want to play is really what it comes down to. I look forward to more tournaments really every time. I'm just a huge advocate of the game, so anything more tournament wise is just going to be good.
Are we going to see you in a tournament pretty soon here?
So I played in the CSTV tournament earlier, and I was planning on playing the winner of Valentine's Day, and so they postponed that one, and so I should be playing in that one. We were talking about going into the next cup, so possibly. That's all I can say about that.
Okay, yeah, don't give too much away. We don't want anyone, you know, getting any of the inside knowledge. And then and specifically to your Boomkin play, you're known for your Boomkin. You're the Boomkin Lord of the Tiqqle Party and everybody that you've ever played with there. That's for sure. People talk about the guide that you had put out. Now, the question is, you know, I don't run into that many Boomkins, even when we're playing at, you know, 2,200 plus ish. But who do you see as a you know, a Boomkin god, and across like any of the X packs, you know, leading up till today, and like who's your Boomkin dad? If you had to pick a player, that would be, you know, your you know.
It's funny because it's a guy that probably doesn't really play the game anymore, but he was kind of the guy I looked up to and played a lot. His name is Asper. Everyone's probably heard of him. And a lot of people didn't like him because he did a lot of carries and things and had trouble playing in tournaments and stuff. But that guy is honestly one of the most incredible players of like Boomkin players of all time. I mean, like he was known for just like helping so many people get rank 1 because it was so easy for him. His win-loss ratios were incredible. And he was just kind of the guy that like inspired me to play Moonkin, I guess. I mean, as you know, I used to play Mage, and I started watching him, so I started playing Moonkin. But him and like Previ right now is one of the top Moonkins on ladder in US. I think he's insane. And then it comes to like the Europeans. You have like Corky and Melby. Those 4 guys are probably like the Moonkins that I just think are insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Looking at everyone that I've played with and against, it's kind of hard to compare those guys. Especially in US, Previ is impressive because he plays Moonkin Rogue just like me. So as of late, he's like one of the guys to.
I see. Okay, and is you know, in terms of, you know, you mentioned carrying people and helping people out and, you know, helping people get rating. You're kind of known as that in at least the Tiqqle community for helping people out, being patient, teaching them things. You know, not raging when things don't go quite right in RBGs or in arena, and kind of like being the patient person and a teacher and a mentor there. You know, is Asper kind of like the inspiration for that, or is there a different mentor that you had as you were coming up and through Warcraft and learning the ways of the arenas?
It's kind of funny. Asper more was like a guy I just watched through streams and stuff, but I like helping people. That's like probably one of my favorite things to do in this game besides push rating. Because what happened to me actually is when I first started playing this game, I wasn't good then, but in Wrath, I met a friend of mine whose name was Slig, and he basically taught me how to do everything. He showed me like started key bindings, because this is back in Wrath when I was like 12 years old, and I didn't know anything about the game. And he kind of like took me under his wing for some reason. We were just dueling, and he really showed me like key bindings, you know, Arena 1, 2, 3 and everything. And I realized this game is so complicated. A lot of people say it's not, but it is. You know, there's so many abilities. You almost have to have someone to tell you like arena strategy. Obviously we have more videos and things now, but he honestly helped me so much. And I got my first 2K then in the last season of Wrath. And it was all thanks to him, you know what I mean, showing basically me all this stuff and like spending the time to like help someone that didn't know anything. You know what I mean? See the potential and push them up. And like, I know it's frustrating for people with Group Finder and stuff to do that. So like having someone to like just help a little bit, it makes a huge difference. And he showed that to me, you know, so I've just done it, tried to replicate it. Obviously there's always saltiness that can happen and stuff, but do the best I can.
Paying forward. I think you do super job. And to the point where you mentioned the multiple, or the buttons and the complexities of the game, I've had friends that will play Heroes of the Storm, so they're on BNet and they're real life buddies, and they would watch me stream WoW in Arena, and they're like, "How do you know anything about what's going on? How do you know what all your buttons do? You don't. There's not 4. There's all these other things," because they're used to like a League or a HOTS where there's only 4 buttons, and then WoW has literally you could have as many buttons as you want with all the macros that you can do. So it's just insane with the potential there for just the complexity. So but no, that's awesome. Glad to hear that that's where it comes from. With a whole mentoring, what would be your #1 tip to give arena players at every level, any level, in terms of trying to get get better? Do you have any what would your #1 tip be? For
it's kind of two, but they're kind of connected. Is learn everything, every mechanic. You need to learn mechanics of every class and DRs, and it's like a knowledge aspect, right? So like you can't be good at arena if you don't know abilities, because it's all based off of people using defensive abilities and offensive abilities, and you have to see right when they use them, you know what I mean, and see like what difference it's going to make. So if you don't know like bark skin and the defensive, what it's going to do, right? Or don't know what a wall looks like from a shaman, or if you don't know the abilities, it's really hard to play arena at a decent level. And if you don't know DRs, it's really hard to play at a decent level because you have to be able to pay attention to every ability, right? And like the more you know that, the game slows itself down. And the best way to learn that stuff, I think, or at least for me, was from watching. I just stream hopped and watched so many different streams and watched from every POV, right? Not just my class, but every class, because you need to learn every mechanic of every class. You can even level up other classes, you know, and learn them there. But like, that's why it's so easy to multi-class for a lot of the top players, because they know the game so well and they already know what they've seen other people do for their classes, that they can just apply it almost instantly, right? They may mechanically not be able to do it perfectly, but they know what to do,
right?
Because they know exactly what wall is going to do, or how much damage it's going to absorb, or the game slows down significantly when you know mechanics and abilities.
I think you can actually see that in action when watching your streams, for example, on Boomkin. You're coming out of the gate laughing with your teammates, and then you're just doing your jobs, running, and you just kind of not even being intense and into it is good, but sometimes you're just kind of like, all right, this is happening, but kind of like nonchalantly, while you're just kind of crushing it and kind of like continually playing and you know what they're going to do, you're going to do, so you can see that everything is slowing down for you, especially as you obviously are already playing at such a
higher level. It's sometimes it's actually easier at a higher level, not necessarily easier, but people are more predictable, right? Because at lower levels, they don't really know strategic and like how to use their classes, so they'll do some weird stuff that like it's hard to prepare for sometimes because they're unorthodox, and people don't realize that. Because like I'm paying attention to certain mechanics and what people would normally do, right? At a higher level, it's way more obvious because like you can preemptively tell how they want to play the comp, But at lower ones, you play some weird comp, I have no idea what's coming at me.
like Hunter Ellie.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, that is quite the meta these days. And for streams, do you watch streams in class sometimes when you get a little bored of algebra?
Sure do. I'm the stream hop king. I know a lot of players that do that. I follow every top PvPer I can know, and I like knowing about them. So I'll hop to them, watch a game of theirs, hop to the guy they're playing against, watch the game of theirs, hop to sometimes I'll have tabs of multiple streams open. I've done that before, just be watching multiple at a time. Usually while I'm playing in a game. No, I usually have the sound on. When I had one monitor, I used to just listen to it in the background, and then I would alt tab whenever I wasn't in something.
Yes. Okay.
And then when I'm driving, I always have one playing, so I just listen to it. I like listening to like the sound of arena of like people like calling stuff out. It's really, That's awesome. So you just anytime you can watch, it makes such a difference.
And do you think like some of that kind of passion for like the arena gameplay and stuff comes from? I know you were, we talked about before about you being like into basketball in school and being like into sports. Was sports a really big? Were you really into sports and like really competitive in sports as you were growing up and as you grew up? I mean, did that have a big kind of influence onto esports?
Oh, it had to. I mean, it's just like the competitive nature, right? Like growing up, my family was all sports players, so it's just like a competitive nature that you can carry over, right? Because if you don't go on and play sports at a higher level, then you kind of lose some of that, right? You can go play casually some, but what actually gives you a rating earning, right? Think of like Call of Duty in those games. There is no ranking system really anymore. They used to do like league play some, but you just level up. There's no level down. Rating is hard to gain. It's one of the few games left that it's hard to level up, Right. Back in like Halo 2 when I played that, you leveled down all the time if you lost, right? I mean, there's games like League, I guess you level up in ranked, but
right.
You have to have that competitive nature to want to play a competitive game. And I played sports super seriously in high school. Big thing for my family, you know what I mean? All great like athletes and stuff, so it had to have carried over, no doubt.
Yes, awesomeness had to have carried over. Yeah, I saw you shooting a 3-pointer on your Instagram, so.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, great shot. And then you mentioned you played Halo 2. Were there any other games that you played kind of competitively or pushing kind of like to get into the, competitive area? For like you mentioned Halo 2, which I knew was probably one of the first games that had I mean, well, Halo 1 is like the strong competitive background. I knew some professional like Halo 2 people that were like, that was a big thing, and that was at the beginning of the whole esports thing. Like, well, probably along with Counter-Strike and some games there. But was Halo 2 your go-to for that?
Halo 2 and 3 were some of the big ones. People may not remember. I know like the old players like Ogre 2 and Walshy and some of the old Halo players I used to watch, even back when I played when I was like, I don't know, 12 maybe, 11, 12, right before I started playing WoW. I also, people don't think it was a super competitive game, but I used to play a ton of Call of Duty. And maybe if it's not as competitive of a game, it's still like playing against other people, right? It's not like some game just like single player. I played that a lot and tried really hard, like as I do in everything, right? I'm just a tryhard in pretty much every game. And like, I played that. And Halo are probably the big two, which are both shooters and both on console.
Right.
The only other game that pushed me towards it probably is Super Smash Bros. Melee. I don't know if people know a whole lot about that, but it's a super competitive scene still. Probably the most successful competitive fighting game of all time. It's probably more played now than even when it came out. It's incredible.
I have buddies. I'll go to their place. I go to their place and we're, just kind of hanging out, and they're like, "You want to play some Smash?" And the two guys that live there will play, and I'll just try to hop in. They have a high skill cap on that game based on everything. I can only imagine it's similar in terms of knowledge of every single thing in moveset and everything so like that. The knowledge base has got to be sick.
Very similar.
That's pretty.
Yeah. It's knowledge base in every game. It makes a huge.
Yeah, I found you another picture of you playing Call of Duty on Twitter. So, very serious about your games, Tybur.
Black Ops 2, I used to play a lot, and I played game battles way back when, and league play, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I can tell it's it runs deep, the competitive.
What it's all about.
It is. I hear you, and the cues. So on your YouTube channel, which I will share very much after this video, or after this talk. I noticed that 3 years ago you were doing some 3v3s on S-Priest, Mage, and stuff like that, and your UI is exactly the same as it is now. Why do you think that is? And do you think the basic WoW UI? Why do you like it so much? And does it give you everything you need? Because literally no difference versus today.
It's funny because I've made like minor changes you probably can't even notice, but yeah, I'm you know me decently well. I'm very simple in a lot of ways. Like you even see my guide, how straightforward it is, and that's just kind of how I've always been. So like I don't like fancy stuff, so I found a UI that I liked. I've probably the similar UI that I used even in MOP and I used in WoD even before those videos, and I've just carried it on because I never felt the need to change it. You know what I mean? When you get used to something and comfortable something too, why mess with it? And if it works, the center UI gives me pretty much everything I need. There's like 3-4 add-ons I really use that I've pretty much used it forever.
Right.
Ever since then.
Very
I've tried different things, but just gone back.
Well, I think they probably do a pretty good job of. Even I've switched to basic frames to just get all the information there in a pretty nice way. I'm sure over time they've made it a little bit more.
Tons better.
Exaggerated, like making the shit that you can purge off shiny and all that stuff, but which is kind of good. But yeah, interesting to see. I'm slowly breaking down my spaceship. So yeah, okay. But on the YouTube channel too, you do have a little bit of Mage gameplay, which is so funny how the arenas have changed over time and how slow those games feel to where we are now in Legion. But we used to play a lot of Mage, and what do you think it is about the Mage class that brings in some of the kind of top players? Like even on the desk for the EU Cup this weekend, you had 3 out of the 4 people were Mage players, and they were all really the high arena rated ones. So do you think there's something about the Mage class itself that brings people in? Do you think it teaches players a certain aspect of the game that's really good, and then they can transition away from it? But what do you think it is about Mage that kind of pulls people in?
Definitely does. Rogue Mage is like historically one of the most known comps, right? Rogue Mage Priest. Since BC, it has probably been historically one of the best comps of all time. You have like Shaman Lock and then RMP. It's all about RMP. And Mage has always been the control class, right? You have your Sheeps, you have your Roots, you have to be able to kite, right? You have to set up damage. It's the caster that is the most setup oriented and the most control oriented, and because of that, it makes it one of the probably more difficult classes to play historically. I can't say that as much now, but like back when I played it in like Wrath and Mop especially, there you had to know DR so well and have such good DR management, if you know what I mean by that, but like not overlapping a sheep or not double rooting someone on DRs, and like even you had deep freeze for stun DR, so like you had to pay attention to a lot of things. And I think Rogue Mage is historically, people say it's easy now, and I mean they're playing Arcane Assass right now, but it's not. It's always been a setup oriented comp compared to a lot of the other ones, really offensive usually. And so Mage just teaches a lot, and I think Mage is kind of the roots of why I wanted to play Moonkin, because Moonkin has some similarities to Mage in a lot of ways. Not as much now, but it used to have even more. The way you kite, the way you have a spammable CC and things like that. But Mage, honestly, it does teach a lot, especially the old Frost Mage taught a ton.
Yeah,
I think
there is a lot. I mean, yeah, I mean, and even Mage has changed over time, but you can see there's a lot of people that stick with it, and like Zico, Xaryu, all the like, you know, they're all playing it as well even now. And you know, I don't know when they didn't play Mage, but you know, I don't know if a lot of people know that you used to play it as well. So was that in WoD? Is that when you were mainly that?
Well, yeah, I played it in Wrath was when I made Mage, and then I kind of didn't play much through Kata, and then came Mop, and that's kind of when I got back into PvP somewhat seriously. It was towards the end of Mop, and that's when I first met people know Thunderbud and Matt. We played with them, and I got played Frost Destro some then when I was playing Frost Mage, and that's when I used to watch a lot of Xaryu videos actually, or Xaryu streams actually. I watched, he used to do 2v1s, if people know. He did a lot of 2v1 arenas because you couldn't get Craven and stuff, so he would just go in and alter time 2v1 people. And I was like, wow, that's like awesome. I want to play Mage, and so I played a lot of Mage, and then came WoD, and I did the same thing. I played mostly Moonkin and Mage throughout WoD, and I played probably more arenas on Mage than anything, and got like almost glad the last season on just playing Mage. Which a lot of people don't even realize, and I think that honestly made like a huge difference, like to learn the game to like transfer to Moonkin, because I played a lot of Moonkin then too. But
and what made you pick Moonkin over Mage? Because now you have a Mage, but you're pretty much, you know, seems like you're pretty much on the Mooney.
Yeah, it's the way they've gutted the class a little bit. You know, they took out deep freeze and stuff, so the class playstyles changed a lot. It's still Mage, but to me it doesn't feel the same. And there's things on Moonkin that I feel like I can do better and more of. Than I can Mage. You know, they changed Mage probably more than a lot of the other classes, and taking out stun, being able to blink while casting and stuff instead of blinking stuns, and how the metagame works makes Mage feel a lot different. So I don't know, I just don't like playing as much, whereas Moonkin was the same idea where I could kite just as well in WoD like Mage, and I could still do a lot of the things with clone, just like you can use sheep. And it just fit my playstyle even better, honestly, than Mage did.
I'm glad, because I don't know too many. I don't even think I know very many Moonkins at a high level that really play. I just don't really know them. I think there are, probably because Boomkin, the plague of Boomkin Ellie is so strong right now. But yeah, fair enough. And I noticed your Boomkin used to be named Fladen. Why did you change it to Tybur? Which, by the way, made me assume that your name was Tyler, but I don't think that's the case.
Okay, yeah, it's not the case. So, my Druid is actually originally Alliance when I first made him, way back. I think probably in late Wrath, but it was only like level 40 or something, and they randomized his name to Fladen. And I had been known as that for a long time on Crushridge because I was in a guild there, and everyone knew me as that. But it just wasn't really a good staple, I guess, because like my other characters had just kind of random names. And my Shaman was my original character was Tybur the Rogue. And BU is the beginning of my last name. So my full name is Ty, and BU is and then R is the next letter. So I just added that on there with my super creativity. And my Shaman was named that, and people started calling me that because it was on my BattleNet.
Oh yeah.
Especially Bianchi and Matt always call me Tybur. So I was like, wait a second.
That's awesome.
Kind of stuck, so I just changed Fladen to Tybur, and that was it.
Interesting. The Rip Fladen.
A lot of people still call me that. It's kind of funny. Really? Remember me by that.
That's funny. That's cool. Yeah,
old school people.
I see. Yeah, it's I saw Fladen with the duel guides and some other things when dueling actually meant something.
Yeah, I was a huge dueling fan. If people that know me know I have like thousands of duels played or something on my mage and even on my druid, I think. Just WoD.
And do you hope that they're gonna change that into the next X pack?
Oh, I hope so. Hope to God. Is one of my favorite things ever to do was to duel. I mean, it slows the game down too. It's also a good way to kind of learn PvP. Not right now, but you have to counter individual attacks, right, and individual abilities in duels. So right. You can't say it's not the best, but it's not the worst training aid either.
Interesting. Yeah, I
love dueling.
Yeah, because in Legion's just not no.
Yeah, no. I was known for dueling in WoD, and like, yeah, Mookins were really good at dueling then too, so it made it even more fun.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people that ask about 1v1 stuff for Ellie or 1v1 stuff in general, and it's just in the world PvP, and it's just not even worth it. So
yeah, I wish.
Even in war games, I guess it can be a little bit better, but even so, that takes a lot of effort to get in for 1v1s versus just trolling around. And you still see people out in Durtar outside of Orgrimmar just still doing it, but you just know the heart can't be in that because
it's not near as much.
It's.
I still hang out there. That's how I met a lot of people in Wrath, was just hanging out in Durtar. So I still go out there just to like talk to people some and watch duels, but it's just not the same.
Yeah,
something's missing.
Well, hopefully Blizzard fixes that, because I know a lot of people definitely love duels. Fair enough. So in terms of what you're playing for, you already mentioned the competing in the cups and the tournaments. Is that your kind of where you're headed to? Is that your where you're targeting in terms of the esports scene for you, now that it's becoming more and more accessible to kind of like anybody that wants to queue up?
Yeah, I just want to be more involved in it, really. Like being able to be a good player, like start like seeing myself as like a better player and playing with some of these top guys is really cool. So like given the opportunity that I might be able to like actually compete against them is even cooler. So if that's the way I get involved in it, awesome. If I end up doing something else but still can get involved with these players and get to know them, that's cool. I want to push on ladder as much as I do anything to try and get titles and things like that I've never gotten. There's always a continuation, right? That's the cool thing about seasons. So you just restart and keep pushing.
Yeah.
But if I end up working in the esports scene, like doing something else, and commentating or anything, really be fun.
Yeah, it's definitely that's what encouraging about the the latest cup with Xaryu casting there was that, hey, like I didn't even know that Xaryu was interested. Like, he put out some videos related to it, but it was cool to see he went from just streaming every day, all related to the game, involved playing with people in the community, to just suddenly being on like one of the cups commentating. Is like, what? That was very like, it's accessible and it's there, especially with the esports scene being so explodey right now, and especially in WoW. I'm glad they're taking it in a direction where it seems to be growing, and they're doing more and more, to the extent where Blizzard has like the Overwatch and the WoW stuff going on at the same time, which is cool. I mean, there's so much accessibility to the different content going on for Blizzard. So I'm hoping that kind of keeps up, and the fact that you're going against and beating the Xaryus and these people, I mean, it seems like you're almost there. Especially when even you mentioned that the Alex, the Arsham that you were playing with, you were right. You pointed out that he was in some of Xaryu's videos, and I went back and I checked, and he's in a bunch of them, just doing games with him too in some of his commentary ones. So it's pretty crazy, but
yeah, it's close to get involved in like the Tybur community, kind of. Because like it is like a community of players, you know what I mean? Like a group that kind of play together some, and there's always up and coming people, right? That get to know them. I'm sure there's politics involved somewhat,
no.
But yeah.
Oh no, don't say that.
But I've gotten the privilege. That's one of the cool things about WoW. It's like oh man, I remember queuing with him way back then. I actually just did a Mythic Plus recently with a bunch of RBGers, and we just like got a random group finder tank that was an RBGer, and they're like, oh, you remember playing with this guy and this guy? And it's just kind of one of those things with arenas, You learn about like who you queue with, and you remember queuing with people, and it's just one of the cool parts of the game.
Definitely seems more like one of the more like I won't say it's kind of small, I guess, but it's like a close knit kind of thing. I don't hear of too much drama between players or anything like that. I'm also not up there, but you do hear, see people playing with other people and the teams swap up and people rotate around. Even in some of the tournaments, like the cups, you're seeing people play with other people you haven't seen before, which is pretty cool. And a lot of times the casters or even you will tell that, this is where they used to be, this is what happened, this is, whatever. And it's usually, just kind of like switching up and trying new comps or whatever, just changing the teams up, which is pretty cool these days, except for Sidu, who seems to only play Arsham ever. So literally, that guy he's set on one thing, which is, hey, more power to him, I guess. But
he's played other healers some in tournaments, but yeah, he's 6 Arsham most of the time.
Yeah, it seems like it. Wow. All right, Tybur. Well, that kind of is the list of things I wanted to talk about with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about all this stuff. I think it's pretty cool, and it's nice for people to get a little bit of insight into, what's going on up there at 2600, what motivates you, what drives you, the different, history points of Flayden as he's now become the Tybur. So no, I appreciate it, and I will be linking all of your contact information. Well, not all of it, but I'm not going to give them your social, but the links to your Twitch, your YouTube, and anything else that you want me to share will be on this this entire video. So I just want to thank you.
I appreciate it, Tiqqle. I hope I can help people. That's the dream.
Yeah, you do, and I would say more than anyone else, you've been patient and willing to help a lot of different people. As you even scroll through your BattleNet, you can see people in the Tiqqle party that are, they're not they're not at 2K, but they're people that you've kind of helped out and were patient with, and really the patience and assistance has been felt. You're pretty much you might be the dad. I think I'm probably dad of the guild because of my dad jokes, but you might be the second dad.
Oh, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I think so, or at least like the drill sergeant or something like that.
Yeah. I could deal with that. Yeah, makes me sound a little mean, but we'll figure that out.
Hey, later. You know what? It's okay. Sometimes it's the right approach. I do notice with some of the watching all of your VODs, all 3 billion of them. I do notice the way that you interact with your teammates and the way they interact with you. I can definitely see how you come across in some of the games that we'll even play together, and like the similar ways that Sap may be talking to you, or like mapping plays out and saying what should have happened, and so then you can see that translate into exactly what should happen. I think there was a time when you guys didn't root beam the Mistweaver holding for his way, and then he was saying like just use it right away, and then a few days later we played and you're like just use it right away, and so it's like you can see these things like transition across, which is great because it's just like sharing the learning. So now the next time somebody asks me or I play with a Boomkin, I'm gonna just tell them just root beam the way, just do it. Yeah, so
yeah, awesome. I mean, you're right. You learn from everybody, really, and that's a big thing about top players too. That they do a good job is you have to progress, right? And you can't be downing people you play with all the time, because then it makes it really hard. It's just like no one wants to play with someone that's negative all the time. I can understand getting salty, getting frustrated, certain times. That happens to everybody, especially in competitive scenes, right? You just get like really mad, really frustrated, and you blame people and stuff. And that's gonna happen, but overall, you have to be like somewhat positive, you know what I mean, and somewhat trying to figure out what happened, not just like blame gaming and stuff like that. I think that's where a lot of the guys I look for that I play with will do that really well, and that's what makes teams work well.
Yeah, in the end. You can definitely tell the salt levels at the higher level where you are not like aggressive. It's usually more like frustration that it happened, but not like pointed in a direction. It's usually like let's figure it out, let's get better, and that kind of not total, and it's not negative and it's not hurtful, which I think is why everyone can play with each other and still lose and then come back or what have you. So but I appreciate it, Tybur, and with that, it was fun. We'll do it again sometime, or just talk all the time like we already do.
Yeah sure.
And that's it for the first episode of Tiqqle Talk. This is the first podcast where we're talking to people in the gaming world, high competitive players and maybe not so high competitive players, getting perspective about them and their journey through their gaming careers. World of Warcraft for now, probably more later. We want to start getting into these people and kind of understanding what are they all about, what makes them tick, what makes them achieve for the things that they do, and how do they go about doing it. A little bit different than just the talk about the meta currently. So I hope you guys like it. If you have any suggestions of people that I should talk to in a similar way, please put it in the description below, and please hit that like and sub button. It's competitive out here on YouTube. Really appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast of Tiqqle Talk.